You know, I should have seen it coming. I said previously that Democrats would try to distort the facts and manufacture controversy at the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, but it wouldn't matter in the end because this is a fundamentally uncontroversial, mainstream, honorable judge whose only disqualifying characteristic in their eyes is that he was nominated by the mortal enemy of the Democratic Party, and it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they don't have the votes to stop him. And I still think that general assessment will prevail in the end, but there is one speed bump in the process I didn't foresee, and probably should have. It's a last-second Me Too Hail Mary. It's a wish upon a gropey star. It's one last rub on the magic lamp of toxic masculinity, in the hope that some decades-old, unverifiable accusation will accomplish what they can't with reason and evidence alone. Yes, last week and into the weekend, a Kavanaugh accuser has emerged. Christine Blasey Ford, a Northern California psychology professor who says 36 years ago, all the way back in 1982, a then 17-year-old Brett Kavanaugh, with the help of a friend, forced himself upon her in a bedroom at a party, tried to undress her, and covered her mouth to muffle her screams. But she was somehow able to escape amid some roughhousing between the boys in an altercation her lawyer is calling an attempted rape.
Does she consider this an attempted rape?
She does. She clearly considers this an attempted rape.
We learned of these accusations through a letter sent to Senator Dianne Feinstein, and the accusations are being treated seriously enough to postpone Thursday's previously scheduled Judiciary Committee vote to have another hearing on Monday in which both Kavanaugh and his accuser Blasey Ford are invited to testify under oath. Though as of Tuesday night, the accuser is now saying she won't participate in the hearing until the FBI investigates her claims. But I don't even know why this hearing is necessary. According to the accuser's lawyer, it's not even the accuser's job to corroborate her claims.
Has your client spoken to any of those other guys or that girl who could help corroborate her story?
She has not.
And why not? Is it time to do that?
That's not her job to do that. If this is going to be investigated, it should be done by investigators.
Regardless, it's not going to be corroborated by anyone. I suspect that's by design, but it's at least by circumstance. It was over 36 years ago. There's no way to corroborate a damn thing about it, other than the testimony of the 3 people allegedly there, 2 of whom say categorically this did not happen at all. And for my money, it's not just the lack of evidence that creates my doubt in this scenario. It's the circumstantial evidence that points to a simple political motive behind the accusation. Forgive me if I find it just a little suspicious that this accusation suddenly arises in the 11th hour of the man's confirmation process. Forgive me if I find it suspicious that Dianne Feinstein, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee in charge of vetting Kavanaugh, Dianne Feinstein has been in possession of this information since July, yet did nothing with it until last week, and didn't ask a single question to Kavanaugh about it when he was right before her under oath. Forgive me if I find it significant that this woman apparently never discussed this issue with anyone until 2012, 30 years after it allegedly happened, when she mentioned it in a marriage therapy session with her husband. And I'm not even accusing her of malice with that suspicion. I'm just not necessarily willing to grant 30-year-old teenage memory as reliably accurate. Forgive me if I think the FBI probably has good reason to decline to investigate upon learning of these allegations. Forgive me if I think it's odd that Dianne Feinstein is saying no more Senate hearings until after the FBI investigates, even though she knows they already declined to do that, and even though they could have been investigating this entire time she was holding on to the document and telling nobody. Forgive me if I think it's odd that this accuser apparently had no problem with Kavanaugh sitting as a federal judge in the DC circuit for years, no problem with Senate confirmation for that job. It's just this job where he must be stopped. Forgive me if I think it's shaky that the accuser merely believes the event happened in 1982 at a place she doesn't remember and for reasons she doesn't remember. Forgive me if I think that in order to have credibility, you ought to at least know with certainty in what year your alleged victimization happened. And forgive me if I find it awfully politically convenient that senators aren't supposed to question the accuser for such details simply on account of their gender.
In the Me Too era, there are so many risks for Republicans in appearing to attack Dr. Ford, especially especially because all the Republicans on the committee are men.
Forgive me if I find it suspicious when you prioritize sensitivity over truth. And speaking of the truth is my skepticism of this accuser, my defense of Kavanaugh, my total disdain for this entire scenario is not, in fact, political. It's not because I love Trump, or because I'm some big fan of Kavanaugh the guy or his judicial philosophy. It's not even because of my ongoing disappointment and annoyance with the Democratic Party, and it's certainly not because I hold any animosity toward women. The truth is that regardless of my personal allegiances, I'm dismayed to watch yet another core value of this country eroding, this time the presumption of innocence. I often speak about the importance of defending free speech, not just the legal concept, but the cultural value. Sure, the government can't punish you for speech, but that's a lot less meaningful if we're all punishing each other for speech anyhow, trying to get people fired, meddling in people's businesses or with their families. Yeah, it's not the government doing it, but for the same reasons we don't believe the government should do it, we shouldn't do it to each other either. And it's that cultural value, the idea that you can say whatever you want and I won't try to punish you for it, that forms the foundation for the legal standard anyhow. If you erode the cultural standard, the legal one will likely follow. And what we're watching now is the same cultural erosion of the values of due process and the presumption of innocence. If we don't want government meddling in people's lives without due process, if we don't want government presuming guilt, we shouldn't be meddling or presuming ourselves. And the reasons are at least two, the moral and the practical. Just on a moral level, we shouldn't be hurling life-destroying accusations at a person without a high degree of certainty in doing so. If you call this incident an attempted rape, and Brett Kavanaugh implicitly an attempted rapist with confidence but no evidence,
this woman is to be believed. This was attempted rape.
If you do that, it is you who is actually doing the attacking, not him. That is a wildly immoral aggression against a man who, as far as we can tell or can demonstrate, did nothing wrong. And just on a practical level, we have to maintain the presumption of innocence simply because that's the only way our society and institutions can function with any stability. If you set the precedent that mere accusation can destroy anybody's life at any time, it will destroy everybody's life all of the time. Don't like the president? Trot out an accuser. Don't like your boss? Just trot out an accuser. Didn't get your way in anything in life? Just trot out an accuser and use the accusation as leverage to get whatever it is that you want, but couldn't achieve through justified means. That is no way to run a stable society. So no to the Huffington Post and others claiming that Kavanaugh's confirmation will signal to women that they don't matter. That's not it at all. The confirmation will signal that due process and the presumption of innocence do matter. Flip everything you want in this scenario. Make Kavanaugh a woman, nominated by President Hillary. Make Republicans the Senate minority. If an unsubstantiated allegation arose in such a scenario, I would defend the presumption of innocence just the same. Because anything less would be immoral. It would set an unworkable precedent for our society, and it would turn its back on the fundamental values that built this country. It's not about a particular interest group or demographic. It's about preserving a system in which all interests and all groups and all individuals can operate fairly, under the same rules that protect everyone equally. Presumption of innocence is not a value based on bias. It's a value based on neutrality, and it protects Kavanaugh the same as it protects women, the same as it protects you or I. It is one of the core values that made this country great, and I promise you, you don't want to erode it simply because you're not getting your political way in the moment. The future cost of compromising that foundational value will greatly outweigh any short-term gain, and even though the political opportunists of the moment are highly irritating to me, I'd rather not watch even them learn that lesson the hard way. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.